Well, hello, everyone. Welcome to TLV Talk.
Yep.
Rabbi Mark Greenberg of the TLV Bible Society. And, of course, my faithful, trusty sidekick here.
Yes, yes. My name is Joseph Greenberg, and we are glad to have you for this week's TLV Talk, which is sort of special because it's the last Torah portion in Exodus.
Exactly.
Kind of
we
exciting.
get to close with a special prayer, and we'll do that after we're all done. This is parsha Pekudei, which means, as a general word, accounts, and it's really based upon the theme that it's accounting for how much resources, how much was the material resources given in a summary statement here in Exodus of what it took to build the tabernacle. And I just want to, as a point of reference, just so you can visualize this. First of all, you have a structure that has been laid out by God in terms of its construction. It's large, but not very large. It's not like you could put thousands of people like you could have in the outer courts of the temple. But at the same time, listen to some of the amounts that came in here. It says here that in verse 24, the entirety of the gold that was used for the work of the sanctuary, including the gold of the offering, was 29 talents. Now, there's a footnote in the TLV Bible that kind of gives a conversion rate, meaning that a talent was a weight of measure of about 75 pounds. And 29 talents would have been somewhere around 225 pounds. 220, 225 of gold. Can you imagine having 225 pounds
Well,
of gold?
if a single talent equals 75 pounds, and it's saying 29 talents, it would be 29 times 75.
Yes, so
it
that's
would
about
be,
225.
It would be thousands of pounds.
That'd be thousands of pounds?
Yes,
That's correct.
yes. It would be quite a bit.
As a matter of fact, I'm sorry, I forgot a zero.
Yeah.
2,250 pounds.
There you
more
go.
likely. Something around there. We have our executive producer behind the camera, and he's saying it's how much?
1875.
1875, 1,875 pounds of gold.
Yeah.
Can you imagine?
Sounds a little bit like Fort Knox.
It does.
Yeah.
It does. And then we get to the silver, and the silver is 100 talents. So that's how much, executive producer?
That would be
7,500 pounds.
Yeah. We know how to do our math here at TLV Talk.
And I am an engineer by trade, and I know my calculus.
Yes, exactly.
May have trouble with multiplication, but I can do a differential equation like nobody's business. Okay, having said that, then we get into something that is overlooked quite a bit. And I just want to be able to put here, have you look at it. And it's talking about how people were giving in verse 26. And the sanctuary shekel, and he's looking at a beka or a half a shekel, according to the shekel of the sanctuary. And it says here, for everyone was recorded. Look what it says here. From 20 years old and upward, for 603,550 men. It gives an inference that the adult male in ancient Israel, at the time of the tabernacle, was aged at 20 years old. It wasn't 17 or 16. It was 20 years old when they became a male of accountability. So
Very different than Jewish tradition of B'nai mitzvah, bar mitzvah, or
Which
bat
is?
mitzvah, which is 12 or 13.
12 and 13. Yes. You are not a man today. You are a coupling.
A coupling. A coupling.
A youngling still going up.
The thing is, though, is that these numbers, albeit they are a little, they feel like minutia, but the fact is God is very specific in how He wants the tabernacle to be built.
Exactly.
And what He's expecting of the people of Israel. So, sometimes we get into this stuff, but this part of Torah is a very minute, very much like Leviticus, which we're about to start, and Numbers, which obviously has lots of numbers in it. But it's important to pay attention to these details, because if God thought it was important for it to be in there, we should pay attention.
Exactly. And then chapter 39 goes into how the priests, like Aaron, the Kohen Gadols, the high priests, were to be dressed, and all of the fine linens that went into this. And there's a part that we really look at very carefully here at the Bible Society. And if you would, I'm going to ask you to come with us to verse 22. Okay? He also made the robe of the ephod from woven work, olive blue, with a hole in the center of the robe, and a binding woven around the hole as a collar, so that it would not be torn. They also made on the hem of the robe, watch this, the hem of the robe, pomegranates of blue, purple, scarlet, and twisted linen. Then they made bells of pure gold and put the bells between the pomegranates on the hem of the robe all around between the pomegranates, a bell and a pomegranate, then another bell and a pomegranate all around the hem of the robe. And this had a functional two purposes. Number one is if the priest had not done what he needed to do, and
on Yom Kippur, right? The high priest goes in, interceding on behalf of Israel.
That's correct.
Bringing all the sins of Israel for basically the whole year in front of them. And let's just say there was occupational hazard.
There could be an occupational hazard. So if the bells were no longer ringing and they heard a thud, which you probably could have, there was always a rope tied around the great high priest.
Yes.
And so there was some of this that could have been happening, and then you hear the great words, not in English, but in Hebrew. Next!
Yeah.
I'm sure.
Yeah.
Listen, we don't mean to make any fun about life. It was serious business.
Yeah, and it gives a real inference to the fact that if we're called to be high priests today in a new covenant,
correct,
space, the fact is that it is a serious position. It is something that we have to take in mind, that we are going out on behalf of God, right, ministering to people, and that we can't just take it lightly.
Right, and this is also where we kind of dovetail the teachings of what Paul said or Rav Shaul in 1 Corinthians, talking about the spiritual gifts. He said if you have nothing but a gifting, and you don't have the fruit of the Spirit, which the pomegranates represent, and you'll be a clanging cymbal. So your gifting, no matter how great it may be, always has to be tempered by your fruit. Because as he said, if you don't have love, which is a fruit of the Spirit, then you don't. You're a clanging cymbal, and your gift, no matter how great it may be, is ineffective. So you have to have a balance.
It's a beautiful visual representation in an old covenant space, and that's why here at the Bible Society we love taking concepts that people are very familiar in New Covenant,
correct,
and reminding them of kind of where they started in the Old Covenant. Exactly.
So there's a lot of concepts here that you can take out of the temple experience and the temple sacrifices. Number one, we all have to understand that Yeshua fulfills the functionality of those sacrifices. The sin, the guilt, the fellowship offerings.
Yeah, it talks in
offerings.
Hebrews 9 about the fact that all the high priests had to go up and do that every year, but that would no longer be the case for their sins and iniquity forgiven once for all through Yeshua.
Right, and fulfilling Jeremiah chapter 31. So with all that being said, you can, and then at the very last in chapter 40, they set it all up. They put all the utensils, they put all the showbread, they put everything in place. And when the last thing is put in place, it says probably for me, the one that gives me the most Holy Spirit chills is this, in verse 34 of chapter 40. Then the cloud covered the tent of meeting, and the glory of Adonai filled the tabernacle. Moses was unable to enter into the tent of meeting because the cloud resided there, and the glory of Adonai filled the tabernacle. And I'm sure there's a lot of communities that take that and use it for their community and really want that experience to happen in their own worship services. I think seeing and experience a bona fide glory cloud is unbelievable. So with that being said, we are at the end of the book of Exodus. And with that, Joseph, we say, Hazak, Hazak, V'nit Chazek. Be strong, and let us be strengthened.
Yep.
So be strengthened. Go worship the King of Israel in your local church or synagogue. Bless you.
Shalom, shalom.
Bye.